here. Thanks for joining us this evening. And again, apologies for the mix-up on the registration link. So this evening, we're going to go through a little bit more detail about the application, and you should be able to submit questions within your app. So there is a question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. So if you do have a question at any point in the presentation, please submit through that. I'll introduce the project team here shortly, but just as another housekeeping item, should you wish to speak, just like Mike did, please put up your hand and we'll unmute you and you'll have a chance to ask the project team questions. I'll let the project team introduce themselves, but I'll send it over first to my BNA Studios team. So my name's Martha and I'm with the BNA engagement team. I'll pass it over to Jack first to do introductions, and then he can pass it along to the rest of the project team.
That sounds great. Thanks, Martha. My name's Jack Model. I'm with BNA Studios. We are a planning and development firm. We work with landowners and applicants with submissions to the city of Calgary. So I'd like to introduce, maybe starting with Bev, the Onward team.
Thank you very much, Jack. Nice to be here with everyone this evening. My name is Bev Jarvis, and I am Director of Engagement and Communications with Onward. And we are joined tonight with our CEO, Chris.
Hi there, I'm Chris Slater, Chief Operating Officer for Onward Homes. Paul?
We would think we know how to work the mute button now. My name is Paul Getty. I'm with Western Vertical, and I am supporting Onward with the development application.
Okay. So I'm going to just give a very brief presentation, give some more information about this application, and then we'll give most of the time to Q&A at the end. I think the best way to start off is to talk a little bit about who is Onward and what do they do. So I'll let Bev kick that off.
Thank you very much, Jack. Yes, a bit about Onward. Our vision: with homes for all, people and communities thrive. We are a not-for-profit operating in the city of Calgary for nearly 50 years. Onward is the rebranded organization resulting from the merger of Horizon Housing and Forward Housing in about 2022. We are a federally registered charity. That means that our portfolio of units remains affordable in perpetuity. Currently, we have approximately 2,200 units across 33 buildings, serving a diverse mix of low-income Calgarians. Our residents are singles, families, seniors, youth, new Canadians, Indigenous people, and so on. We are housing only. Our residents must be able to live independently. We do not provide support services. We do, however, work with upwards of 60 social service agencies, which may refer and provide supports to residents. Examples of those social service agencies might include Discovery House, Calgary Catholic Immigrant Society, and so on. Onward uses the mixed income model, which means that we have deep subsidy rentals that are offset with near market rents. We believe it's a very healthy model that reduces social stigma, it integrates well into communities, and it's financially sustainable. And with our rent geared to income model, our residents, if their financial status improves, are not required to move, which means they maintain their housing, community, and social stability. Onward's purpose is to build and own affordable and well-cared-for homes, which we believe is the foundation of well-being and belonging. And now maybe I'll ask Paul to share with you a little bit about how Onward came to be developing this property in Shaganappi. Paul?
Bev. So in around this early summer of 2024, the city of Calgary released multiple sites across the city, which were city-owned sites, and made them available to qualified non-market, non-profit housing providers to support the development of new affordable housing at various sites across the city. It was a competitive process, and it was based on high levels of sustainability, accessibility, as well as track record of the applicants and a bevy of other scoring mechanisms from the city of Calgary. So we're very happy to note that Onward was the winner of this site based on its application. And the plan here is to build approximately 63 units across multiple kind of unit types that would fit into the city's preferred zone of MU1. And we want to note that while this is an MU1 rezoning, effectively the building is going to be a 5-story structure that will more or less fit the intended form of the underlying zoning, which was MX2. So we've opted to go for a direct control on this site based on some of the unique aspects of it. Not only is it almost directly adjacent to an LRT station, but there are some nuances, including a very large city right-of-way, which is basically the 12th Avenue Slip Road adjacent to Bow Trail, which kind of creates some challenges with the base zoning. As well, we are looking for some minor parking reductions. In terms of timing, we do have performance timelines that are fairly well articulated in our agreement with the city. And those targets include getting land use approvals in the summer and then a DP before the end of the year.
And that's
With
development
that,
permit.
yes, development permit. Thank you.
Yeah. No,
And with that, I'll hand it back over to Jack.
that sounds good. Thanks, Paul. I mean, you are covering off quite a bit of it as well. So obviously, I think folks are very familiar with this site. It's directly southeast of the Shaganappi Point Station. And Paul explained very well that what we're proposing in a 5-story multi-residential development is actually already an allowed use under the existing land use of MX2. One of the reasons why we're applying for rezoning is to remove the required commercial component under that land use. So in going from one mixed use type district to another, MU1 does not require commercial at grade, which we obviously are not intending to construct. And as Paul alluded to, some of the other things that we're utilizing the direct control district to implement are some specific measures and items on the site that relate to the way that the site is actually constrained. And I'll get to that at the very end of the presentation. In terms of the policy that guides this area, so you can see it's right down here next to the green space and is considered a neighborhood flex with the up to 6-story category. So in terms of what is being proposed on this site, multi-residential is very much appropriate within neighborhood flex, and this site is under 6 stories. So in looking at what the site has to offer, how do we deliver the 63 affordable housing units that we're committed to on this site? As Paul mentioned, it has strong vehicular access. However, there are some constraints with accessing off from Bow Trail and with the 12th Ave coming on the west and the north of the site. Additionally, as I'll show on the next map, there's a large portion of the parcel, which is outlined in the dash white, which is actually not developable. A portion of it is 12th Avenue, another portion is a road plan, and another portion is a utility right of way. So of this large site, only the area in blue is actually developable for residential. And as a result, we have applied for something called a direct control land use, which lets us set some custom rules. We were concerned that the way that area is calculated for things like landscaping and other rules that apply to development, that the entire area was going to be assumed, and then we would not be able to meet the bylaw requirements. So we're really just putting in some very site-specific measures in this direct control district. And in doing so, we are also implementing the reductions in parking that we would otherwise be able to obtain through a relaxation at a development permit. So with this application, we're trying to be very transparent about specifically what kind of building we're hoping to provide and the number of parking stalls, the amount of landscaping on site, and streamline the future development approval process. So as you can see from this plan, the intention, as developed through a test fit with an architect, is to have pedestrian access from the west, grade-oriented frontage on both the west and the north, and for parkade access from the existing lane. There's also a setback area from the adjacent low-density parcels. And as mentioned, it will be a 5-story building with potential for a variety of different types of unit types. This is very conceptual, but we do hope to be able to share development permit level details with you in the coming months. So rough timeline, the application was submitted in March. We have met with the community association, we've met with the area councillor, and we're now having our public engagement session. The city's initial feedback from the public is open right now. There's information on the sign on site, as well as on their development map website. So that circulation will be open through the month of May. We'll be taking the feedback that we hear from the city and from the members of the public and working to implement them into the revised application. And we hope to take that forward to Planning Commission and Council in the summer. So with that, I think I'd like to open it to Q&A.
Thanks, Jack. So thanks again to those of us joining this evening. And if you have any questions and you'd like to speak them, please put up your hand and we'll unmute you. And any other technical questions, if you prefer, you're welcome to just drop them in the Q&A function within your Zoom app. And we can answer questions also verbally from those that are submitted written. Just a reminder, we're recording this evening's session. So if you do speak, you'll be part of the recording, and we look forward to receiving your questions. And we do have one hand up, and I'm going to go to Les. So Les, I'm going to unmute you and give you a chance to ask the project team your question. Oh. So Les, let me know if you're asked to unmute, and you can have a chance to unmute yourself and speak.
I noticed that the access to and from the parkade is right at the north end of the existing alley. So there'll be cars coming in and out of there. I wondered to what extent you're aware of the developments going on the south side of the existing lane and the immediate south of this development, where there will be an additional 4 parkade parking slots on the west side of that alley. That's going to get awful congested with where traffic is coming and going. I wonder if you're aware of everything that's going on in that area.
Thanks very much, Les, for the question. Yes, we are aware of the adjacent development permit. We understand that access on this site is somewhat unique. Having both 12th Ave and the lane on the bounding of the site gives us opportunities, but also constraints. I would say that we have already undertaken or begun a transportation analysis, so that will be. It's not completed yet, but that will be informing how we move forward at the approvals for land use and the future development permit. And then also, I would say that one of the key things that we've done through the direct control district is to reduce the number of parking stalls that are provided. The intention is to market this building towards those who are using transit and alternative modes.
Les, did you have any follow-up questions? Yeah, go ahead. You're still muted.
Yeah, I do. I wondered if you're aware of the respective timelines for your project plus the one on the south side, because that lane is going to get awful busy with construction materials and equipment.
Yeah, I again appreciate the comment. And I think one of the things that I should have talked about a little bit more in my presentation is that this is really the first step. This is the first everyone is hearing of this project, and it's our first time engaging with the community, but it won't be the last. And our intention is that through this land use phase, and I'm going to lean a little bit into Mike's question he popped in the chat as well, where we're really just talking about the box and what can go in it. But a future development permit will be looking at the details of the building and how vehicular access is working and ensuring that we're making it make sense. And then even beyond that, working to manage construction traffic and stay in contact with the community until occupation of these units.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Les. We also had a question come in through the chat. Just a question generally, I think, about the ongoing maintenance of what will eventually be built. So this is a question to the Onward team. Generally about, in terms of maintenance and operations, how does Onward continue to ensure that your properties are well maintained and ensure the success for future residents into the future?
Yeah, thanks, Martha. I'll take that. Chris Slater again, Chief Operating Officer. So Onward owns and operates and manages its own buildings and buildings for the government of Alberta. So what that means is that we have dedicated Onward staff. So we don't contract. We have asset management teams, building services teams, and residential services teams. There will be, obviously this is still in conceptual stage and we're not at the development permit stage, but when this is hopefully a building that we own and we operate, we will be putting in place a dedicated team that will learn the building throughout the building construction stage. There'll be a handover and commission stage so that they're fully up to speed with all of the building equipment, how it runs and how the building should be operated. And then we will use our nearly 50 years of experience in managing properties, excuse me, to make sure that this is a property that is safe and secure and affordable for all Calgarians to enjoy.
Thanks, Chris. And if there are any other follow-up questions as well to some of the ones we're answering, please make sure to continue to drop them in the chat or put up your hand. We might not have the answer to this yet, but someone is asking the project team, do we know how many units will be 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms? Do we know the makeup of the units yet in terms of what bedroom count? I don't know, Paul or Bev.
Paul, I wonder
Yeah.
if you might step in on this. You've probably got a little bit better idea of why maybe we can't give a definitive answer to that question, but over to you.
Yeah, but as Bev alluded to, it's early days here, and we're really at kind of a conceptual stage, as Jack also mentioned, ensuring that we're getting kind of the basic building blocks of the project set up correctly for success. And it is the intention to kind of have a broad range of unit types between studios 1s, 2s, and potentially 3s. But that's still a bit of a ways off.
Thanks, Paul. You can keep the questions coming in as they come up. Perhaps, I know, Jack, we have touched on this, but just maybe to remind everyone just the difference between the land use stage versus the development permit stage and what that might mean in terms of process.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think so with the land use application, we are deciding what uses are appropriate, what heights and densities are permitted on the site, the various different rules that apply, like setbacks and landscaping and those type of things. So we are not changing much with regard to the existing use on this site. We're just the main item is removing the commercial, which we don't think is appropriate on the site. Anyways, so in terms of the public input process, you'll have sort of a similar process at both this land use and the future development permit stage. So comments are open. You can submit them to us. Our information is on the sign on site and also in the webinar link, but you can also submit them to the city and the file planner who's working on this application. Their information will be on the sign as well at the Development Calgary website. And that feedback is open. I know they have a close date on the sign, but it's open right until this application goes forward for approval. And then the final opportunity would be through the public hearing of council once the item does go forward in the summer. And then, so everything that's all just for the land use, and then it would happen again for development permit, but with a lot more detail on the buildings and exactly what they'll look like.
Okay, great. We have another hand up. Michael, you're asking to unmute.
Yeah, I'm asking to unmute.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
So Just for the people listening, one of the, we met with Onward last week, and I'm pretty confident they're going to be engaging you quite a bit through this process. Some clarity around your part in the process. I mean, we've been through a lot of public hearings in Shaganappi. When there's a public hearing for land use, you're entitled to speak directly to council. And I suggest that if you live on 26th Street, 25A Street, you're probably going to be more interested in showing up for a council meeting and taking a day off work to do that if you want to comment on that. So that's something the community association can help you with, and we can help you organize yourselves for, an organized approach to this application. We have some preliminary issues with the transportation at this site because Brookfield and the property across the street, the former South Boat property, required transportation studies, and it's really a city problem to actually figure out how the access works at this location, but we have given them some feedback on that as well. And how many parking spots are you looking at, just by sort of a directive range for the 60 units that you're looking at here?
Thanks, Mike. Paul, do you remember the exact number? I believe it was in the range between 20 and 30 stalls. You're muted.
Unmute. That sounds correct, Jack. I think that's a fair range.
And
It's-
Paul,
and
help
it's
me out,
likely-
but that
sorry.
in part, sorry, I was just going to add, that in part will also be reflective of how many handicap or accessible stalls we need as well. There'll be a full, mock-up on the design to maximize the space, right?
Yeah, the city's requirements around handicapped or accessible stalls is a little bit fluid right now. So that's something that we're kind of actively working with the city on resolving. But there will be kind of an entire tray of parking underneath. So one entire level of parking underneath the building.
Again, for the residents, most of the details are going to be covered off, as Jack pointed out, in the development permit stage. So if you have to, if you really want to expend your energy in a positive way on this, I'd suggest that you save yourself until after the public hearing and comment on approving the project with the Onward team after the fact. And given that they have expressed an intention to engage with you, I'm hoping that could be a collaborative process over the next few months.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. And I would just like to say we have some pretty exciting ideas about how to make this building really amazing. And we're excited to share them, but we're not quite at that stage yet. So we will let you know when we have that information.
Thanks, Mike. We have another question coming in from Deb and Wade Miller. So I'll give you a chance to unmute Deb and Wade.
Hi. I know this is a long term, but something that needs to be considered is garbage access. Where and how is how is that going to be looked at? Because if it's anything to do with blue bins, there's no way that can happen. So what is the plan for garbage removal?
That sounds like a Paul question.
Sure thing. I'll do my best to answer that, Deb. It's early stages, but usually from past experience on projects, it would usually happen off the lane. And for a project of this size with such a compact building area, that would usually be incorporated into the building. So there would not be it's highly likely there would be no trash bins on the outside of the building.
Okay, because yeah, the back alley itself too is narrow, and so it just you wouldn't be able to compensate anything there. So yeah, that's good to know that it would be inside the building.
Yeah, it's a very high likelihood that it would.
Yeah.
There's no other space, frankly, to put it on the site.
Well, no, and that's why I raise it, because I think it has to be addressed that, there's no way that it can be outside of the building.
Yeah. Yeah, that's our understanding as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Deb. If you have other questions, you're welcome to raise your hand. Appreciate your question. We had a question come in from Stephen Morrissey, and I just want to clarify, what does increased cycling facilities typically mean? I wonder if that means recycling, but increased cycling facilities.
No, it does mean cycling. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we are reducing the number of vehicular parking stalls on site, we, especially close to transit, we like to try to encourage people to cycle and use alternative modes of transportation. So on this site, there's a couple things that we'd be providing a trade-off of greater number of cycling stalls within the building, and then also Onward is proposing some specific mobility scooter parking that is electrified, so you can actually charge your mobility scooter within the building within a secure location. So those are a couple of the things that we're including.
Great, thanks. Good question. And we might, regarding timeline, if you were making a guess or a general estimate in terms of construction start and end, would you be comfortable sharing that? So, and when do you anticipate construction might start, and how long do you anticipate the building might take to build?
For sure. It's again, thanks, Les. It'll be an estimate right now, and it'll be highly dependent upon the city's processing timelines. But I think roughly we're looking at if we can get kind of approvals from a land use and development permit in place kind of by the end of the year. That means that hopefully building permit in spring of 2026. And then I would expect a building of this size to take approximately 15 months to complete.
And Paul, if I could add to that, and Les, thank you for the question. For clarification within the non-market land disposition process, Onward has signed an agreement with the City of Calgary, and that agreement, and Paul may have mentioned it already, but that agreement does include some specific timelines, deadlines around the approvals process, and also around the start of construction. So we will be bound to meet those conditions in our agreement.
Thanks, Ben, for that clarity. We don't have any more questions in the queue. If anybody does have any questions, please do raise your hand or drop it in the chat or the question function. We're happy to take a few more questions. We appreciate everyone's time this evening. In terms of next steps of how we'll be following up with you from this session, you'll see an email from us thanking you for your attendance, which will also link to our a recording of this session. We will also be sharing a summary of the questions we received in a version of an engagement summary, which we'll share back with all of these participants, but it also gets shared with the city, just so people understand the types of questions that are being asked. Mike, I might actually get you to unmute because I just see you had a comment coming in through the chat. About how you'd like to establish a list of adjacent residents along 25A and 26th Street involved in the engagement process. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, again, I want to just address the people who might be on the call that live on those streets. I think it's been very effective for us in the past to engage the people that are most affected, and there would be definitely the people adjacent to the site, particularly around Deb and Wade's construction comments, because I know they're right next door to the site. So things like that, I think it's really good to establish a relationship between Onward and those residents that are going to be really impacted by both the construction, the building itself, the construction, and the follow-on interaction with residents. So we'll make ourselves available for that, and to the extent that Onward has the addresses when you guys registered, we'll use those as a way to engage you further. If they don't, hopefully they can share the names that attended, and we can chase you down and make sure that you're engaged with Onward going forward.
Yeah, we do have emails for everyone that registered this evening, Mike. What I'd probably have to do is get permission from them to share their contact information, but we can do that for sure. So we can set.
Yeah, we don't necessarily ask for street addresses, but
no, we don't have street addresses. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you reached out to them and asked them if you wanted to share those addresses and if they lived on those streets, I think they'd be quite willing to work with you. And it's probably better coming from you than the CA. But if they're members, we know where they live. So if we have the names, we can find them, and people on the street can help us organize them as well and make sure that those people are involved.
And Mike, thank you. That would be really helpful. I would also add that as a best practices during construction, at the commencement, we would most likely door knock to all of the neighbors, anyone who hasn't already spoken with us, just so we have an email trail, so that if there's anything last minute that's disruptive, or when we know something may be coming up in the course of construction that could be a bit disruptive, we really want to be able to communicate with neighbors and make certain that they can adjust and accommodate it best, and get in front of that communication piece wherever possible.
If anybody knows our processes, it'd be you, Bev, because for those that don't know, Bev had a property in Shaganappi that was right across from the major building being built on 28th Street, next to.
I feel very close to this neighborhood. I feel a very strong pull to it. And I can tell you, Paul, if you don't mind, he's also an adjacent neighbor in Killarney. So we are very familiar with the area, and could sing the praises of these established communities all day long. So thanks, Mike.
I think your next door neighbor is on this call, actually.
Oh, great. Oh. Thank you.
No, and great suggestion on next steps. So if there's any other questions, we'll just give it a moment. Again, we'll conclude the meeting on that, and just with a reminder that we will be following up, thanking everyone for their participation with a recording of this session. We'll also share the slide deck, and then we'll be reaching out in terms of coordinating that neighbor list. Jack, anything you want to add before we pass over to Onward to wrap up?
Not really. I appreciate everyone's time, and we're always available. If there was anyone who had any issues that in getting on the call, please forward our information. They can reach out and ask any questions. I'm happy to chat. So appreciate your time.
And we'll make a note, Jack and Mike, just to reassure you. Also, what we'll do is we'll compare those who were able to join this evening with those who registered, and we'll be reaching out directly if there was any gaps.
That's a great idea. Yeah, it was a bit difficult to get on for some people.
Yes.
Also, anybody on this call that wants to call me directly, I kind of like taking the calls, so don't worry about calling me. My number's on all my emails.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Martha, thank you so much, Jack. To all of the residents on the call, we really appreciate your interest in this project. As Mike alluded to, we were very excited to be awarded this property in Shaganappi and have the opportunity to develop. We think so highly of the neighborhood, and we couldn't be more pleased, and truly we are looking forward to working through this process with you as well. And again, Mike, reach out anytime, and to the rest of the team from Onward, Chris and Paul, thank you both so much. Really appreciate everything you're doing on this project.
Thanks, everyone.
Is anything to add from your side before we sign off?
No, I would just add, just echo Bev's words. Onward is proud to provide affordable homes to vulnerable Calgarians, and this is going to be one of the jewels in our crown. So we're very excited to work on this project and see this building come to life. And if anyone has any questions or concerns or anything they want to discuss, Martha and team have done a great job of providing contact details. I know Mike offered his number there, so feel free to reach out. We want this to be a collaborative effort. We want to engage with you and communicate with you so that you're fully aware of everything that we're doing, and hopefully you're as excited as we are to get this project going. So thank you all for attending, and appreciate all of the questions. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.